Hi, I'm Jeremy and I'm going to quickly show you how to draw and move elements around the page with SiteStencil. Okay, let's get started. So here we're going to start off with a box, which is basically just a div. Now I can draw this thing anywhere on the page, and because this element is going to be in the document flow, it will basically be placed on the page according to what the document thinks best, according to the flexbox properties. So let's just draw it, see what happens. Okay, let's put it in the middle. Right. So if we click on it, let's first see how this works. The size of it can be controlled vertically. It's simply a pixel height, and horizontally is a fractional width at the moment. Okay. So if you have a fractional width like that, then we've decided this is going to be a quarter. So if I copied and pasted that 3 times, then you'd end up with each one of these fits exactly a quarter of the width of the page when you take into account the padding, and also this space in between, which is your configurable gutter. So you can actually change the gutter here, and the gutter gets bigger, and of course each element gets smaller, but taking into account the gutter, each of them is still a quarter of the width. Alright, if we didn't want them to be a quarter of the width, but we wanted them to be a fixed pixel width, we can go down here and you can see the width here is marked as a quarter. If we change to fixed number of pixels, 231, then we can see now that they are no longer a fractional width of the parent, but they're actually a fixed pixel width. And this means that if I change the size of the canvas, then they will just sort of go down in that respect. There is actually a much more appropriate way of changing the canvas, which is using the responsive tool here, which gives you a much better view, and you can set responsive breakpoints, which I will talk about in another video. Okay, if however we were to have these as a fraction of parent width, then of course they will always stay a fractional width regardless of how you move the container. They won't go onto 2 lines. Alright, so let's go back to what I originally wanted to show you, which was now how to position these things. So you can use the cursor keys. So we can move these things around the page using the cursor keys. Fantastic. Very easy. However, if we take 2 of them and we move them around, then even though I am selecting this one, when I use the cursor keys, they both move. Why is that? That is because when you are using the cursor keys, what you're doing is you're changing the flexbox properties of the parent. So if we actually select the parent and then we actually change the properties, then you can see I'm changing the flexbox properties on the parent, and that's moving the blocks around. And if we change these, then you also can change the vertical movement. Let's have it all left aligned at left top for the moment. Alright, so you can see that basically all I did was I've set up some keys, the cursor keys, so that when you try and move an element around, it simply changes the flexbox properties of the parent. Okay, now second thing to notice is that as you change the size of this one, the size of the other one also changes. That's because they both share the same class. The class is written down here. In this case it's A8, and you can see this one is also A8. So if I wanted to change the class, I could give it something more interesting, my box for example, but it's still the same. Let's split the first element from the group So that now becomes A9. This one is still my box. So let's call this one something else. My box 2. Okay, that's my box 2. That's my box. Okay, now when we change the height, they change individually. Let's give it a different color, just to make it a bit more obvious which one is which. Now we've seen with Flexbox how we can move them all around using the cursor keys, but what if I want to change the order of them in the DOM? So to do that, it's just the command, the Apple key, and the cursor keys, the arrow keys. So Apple key, arrow key moves them around. So if I have another one here, then you can see, move it around like this. If I have a few more, then again, you can just move them in the same fashion. Okay. What else is there to show? We have row direction, which is another Flexbox property. So selecting the parent, you can change the row direction. So either flowing from left to right or right to left. And that's about it for positioning and moving around. Okay, thank you.